Perception. It's a subject I have time after time talked about. It's a subject I'm sure I will talk about in the future. Perception. It's a problem for Speedway. People perceive it's first from the gate wins, for instance. But it's the perception that Speedway is unfair, that Speedway is even corrupt, that damages the sport the most. It causes the loss of fans, and we just can't afford that. As fans, we play our part in that. We are always quick to blame the BSPA for problems real and imagined. But the BSPA is its own worst enemy, not explaining decisions, if they can be given that high an honour, and leaving a vacuum that has to be filled with speculation and guesses and rubbish. Now, let me be clear, I am not accusing the BSPA of corruption, far from it. I am at the most accusing them of inertia and of fear. Well, enough is enough. We want to save this sport, and we demand an independent body. Only in Speedway. Good evening and welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Joining us tonight in the Speedway Tavern we have, returning from his car exploits, Matt Buck.
Good evening.
And Chris, the Invisible Man, Webby.
Good evening.
Did you like what I did there?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
I'll just point out I'm not actually on screen tonight. I know it's going to be a big disappointment to most of my fans.
You didn't hear it,
my fan. But yeah, you can't see me tonight.
Yeah, that's why we called you the Invisible Man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
But not everybody can understand what you're talking about.
I'm a bit scared, guys. I've just been a little bit controversial. I'm expecting that door to open and somebody from the BSPA to come in and ban me. Please don't. Please. Yeah, I mean, your thoughts on what I just said?
Can't really disagree with it, to be honest.
You're getting banned as well.
There's all for one and one for all.
Yeah. I think it's something that fans have been saying for years, and it's really, really time. Well, it's way past the time. I mean, my idea for the whole thing is that you let the BSPA, not let them, they have to get together at the end of the year, make their rule changes, talk about it, and make their democratic votes on what's the rules are going to be, what the makeups of all the leagues are going to be, what the leagues are going to be called.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get, it only has to be one bloke, or maybe it can be maybe it's too big a job for one bloke and you need more, but maybe an ex-referee or something like that, somebody that hasn't got an affiliation with a club, and give them the rules and say, right, there you go, those are the rules, it's up to you to interpret them now. Get on with it. I mean, the other maybe a little side committee of people from the BSPA to advise them if he asks for advice, but he doesn't have. But with the added thing that he doesn't have to go with what they say. It is just advice, but he will make his own mind up. So that's one way of doing it. What do we think?
If you take you back, I think it's 6-7 years ago, to the infamous Winter of Discontent, when we nearly lost Coventry and Peterborough.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the things that they were quite keen on trying to implement. It was not necessarily an independent body to run the sport, but an independent body to adjudicate and
administer the sport.
Yeah, that's right. Now that was one of the agreements on them coming back into the sport.
It hasn't happened.
No, it's been swept under the carpet, hasn't it, by the looks of it? So
Been some interesting, talking about Coventry, there's been some interesting developments there. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, they've gone now, haven't they? I think so. The
travellers,
yeah.
shall we call them?
Well,
Yeah.
they've also got Peter York to stand with a megaphone to get rid of them. So.
Well, that'd do it. I mean, just in case our viewer doesn't know what's happened there, is the stadium got overrun, apparently, by some travellers. Now the council seems to be suggesting that actually they were let in by the developers because they're using that as an excuse to say, oh, well, we'll start developing the work sooner, and the council, good on them, are sort of saying, no, I'm not standing for that. We think you might well have been complicit in letting them in. So
I suppose, in fairness, it was always going to be a matter of time before some travellers got on the place. I mean,
yeah.
I shudder to think what the place looks like now because it's it hasn't been used since the end of
It
last year. So
it's sad. I just hope Coventry get themselves sorted out one way or the
well,
other.
unfortunately, I
next
think
year.
it's going to be Brandon or nothing for Coventry. I don't think they're going to get anywhere else.
No. Well, then it has to be Brandon, doesn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, that's the story. So, yeah, I mean, lots of stuff going on at Birmingham. None of it good.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of stuff going on at Wolves.
Most
Most of it pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, would you like to fill us in on what's been happening?
Well, the winning run counted end, of course, last Wednesday against Poole. Although we were leading the Mason all the way through and then obviously lost it with the 5-1 in the last stake. But I suppose in the circumstances, going there without Freddie Lingard, who was still recovering from the injury he got against Swindon a few weeks earlier, to go there and get a point, well, you snap your hand off before that. Obviously disappointing not to get more than that.
You're too greedy.
Well, there is that, yeah. If that's what you get when you're winning all these matches. But I suppose at the other side of the coin, if that was the first leg of a playoff final, you'd be quite happy to come away from Poole with a 2-point deficit.
I would.
Yeah, that's right. So Leicester on Monday, and of course Leicester came to Monmouth earlier in the season and should have won. Really, they lost by 1.
Very different makeup to the Wolves team.
Well, I mean, it was fairly. When you look at the scoreline as it finished at the end, it was 54-39 to Wolves. But with 4 heats to go, Leicester were only 3 points behind.
Really? Right.
They managed to get an 8-1 in heat number 11. So to go into the interval 3 points behind. But again, Wolves very, very strong in the last section of the meeting to pull away and take the points. Somehow it was 3 points because Leicester, to be fair, weren't particularly good. They have got riders that ride well at one more green.
I don't know what's going on. I mean, we looked at the teams at the beginning of the season, and I thought Leicester were going to have, for them, a relatively decent season, which would mean not finishing at the bottom of the league, of course. But it looks like that's where they're headed.
Well, Kim Nielsen's impressed me this season. He's certainly stepped into the breach as far as being a number one's concerned, admittedly in a watered-down league. But both of his appearances at Wolves this season, he's been particularly impressive. They were missing Jason Garrity, of course. Danny King, obviously the British champion, but hasn't really done so well for Leicester. I don't think the Leicester track suits him, to be honest. I'd be majorly surprised if he defended his British title on Monday. But you look at their team on paper. They've got some decent riders, Leicester, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking for them for one reason or other. They had a good results, obviously, at the weekend, beating Somerset. They got a draw against Poole as well. Probably should have won that meeting. So there's little signs for Leicester, but it just seems to be a constant struggle for them, unfortunately.
How much do you think that's down to the fact that they're a Saturday track and obviously GP riders will find that a difficult prospect?
I don't think it helps. I don't think without wishing to rake over old ground, obviously the relationship I think with the previous Leicester promoter and the other riders and staff wasn't particularly good either. So I think that's probably done Leicester a lot of damage.
Right.
I'm afraid, which will probably take a while to recover from. Maybe with the changes to the rules this season with promotion and relegation, maybe Leicester need to get relegated to start again in the lower tier and then try and get back up. After a couple of seasons of trying to.
That's going to be an interesting end to
rebuild.
see. That's going to be. I'm really looking forward to actually the playoffs and for the relegation battle. I'm really looking forward to that because I've got a feeling it could actually
It's going to be quite.
Be something worth watching this
It could
year.
be quite close, actually.
Yeah.
Obviously, it might be a bit of a problem if there's going to be a promotion and relegation playoff and there's two riders riding for the same club in the final. It might be a bit
awkward, I think is the word we're looking for.
Not at the end of the day, we could all see that coming, couldn't we? So,
yeah. How do you think they should resolve that? I have my idea on that.
I think it's going to take somebody with a nuclear degree in physics to sort it out.
I think it's simple.
It's,
ask the rider which team he wants to ride for, and then the other team gets a guest.
Well,
would add more spice to the match.
It seems simple. Well, it seems simple, doesn't it? Although, at the same time, obviously, if one rider's owned by one of the clubs, then really, I suppose it's fair that they get the priority.
I think that's true. Yeah, I'll go along with that. So, Webby's been typing like mad. Would you like to share with us?
Pardon?
Would you like to share with us what you're typing? Which is
I'm just saying to people, if they want to participate in the show, and feel there's something I want to get off their chest, and I want to phone in. If they text the number to 0777 911 7082. For those on our shout box, I'll say
would you like to repeat that again? That was quite quick. Yeah.
0777 911 7082. Send us a text, and we'll call you back for free. There you go.
For free.
For free.
You're giving something for free.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you okay, mate?
No. Obviously.
I was thinking he looks peaky, doesn't he?
Well, I can't see him; he's invisible. Anyway, and there are other ways that they can get in touch with us as well, which is the shout box.
Yeah, on the shout box, www.srbradio.com, and go to the chat box there. There's a link there that says chat, and you can participate there, or on various Facebook Live pages.
So all views wanted, all views needed, whatever club, whatever,
join in.
Anything Speedway. We'll pretend we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And
you may not agree. In fact, there's a good chance you probably won't agree.
I mean, I'd love to have people's comments actually on what I said at the beginning about an independent body. I don't think, is there anybody that's not? Well, let's ask that question. Is there anybody out here that doesn't agree with that? So,
I'm guessing there will be.
Well, it usually is.
Come on, don't be shy.
Okay, so yes, the top of the league.
Yep, and into the next round of the Cup as well, with a big win at Kings Lynn last night, 54-36 away from home.
I don't want to talk about that
it's
anymore.
Just,
it's just embarrassing now. Have you seen this smile on his face? It's
think of 12 months ago, it was roles reversal almost, wasn't it, sir?
Well, you was doing quite well 12 months ago, actually, weren't you?
I think quite as well as Birmingham. We're not getting 60-30s away from home.
Well, you brought up the thorny subject of Birmingham. We're not, by a lot of people's standards, we're having a decent season, but by our standards, it's not great.
Stop-start, isn't it?
Very stop-start. And what's going on? You've got Chris Hay decides to give up. You've got Kyle Roberts injured. You've got Keane Dickon injured. Daniel Hume injured. JPB's not being allowed to ride for us for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And now the captain said, "Nah, I don't want to do it anymore."
Maybe you need to stop going in the pits before the meeting.
I mean, the first thing to say is that I haven't seen anybody giving any blame to Darryl. He's made his decision based on his family and injuries and
he had a back knock about 2-3 years ago, didn't he? So
I mean, I think everybody wishes you all the best. Hopefully one day you might want to get back on a speedway bike, who knows. But of course the big question is, and I'd love people to put their comments, is how the hell do we replace the 7-point rider who's out there?
And the club captain as
and
well.
The club captain. Well, I think, we'll talk about that. For me, the club captain's got to be Tom Bacon, hasn't it?
I would think so.
I don't.
Anybody really else.
Well, Liam Carr, I suppose, would be another possibility. But yeah, I think Tom Bacon. But yeah, who's out there to replace him? I mean, do we have to replace him? Can we go with rider replacement? Can we go with I presume that'll be classed as withholding his services, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So we'd get a guest facility, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
No, it'd be rider replacement, wouldn't it?
Would it be rider replacement?
Withholding services. I think I've got that right.
You might be
Yeah.
because it's not the number one or reserve. You might be right.
But I don't like the thought of using rider batsmen in guest for
The rest of the
weeks on end,
season.
'cause it's now because it's just
Well,
turning,
it's dangerous.
turning it with one rider short. It's short-changing the fans. I
Yeah,
think,
it's
for
also
a start,
dangerous,
so-
isn't it? Because you
Yeah.
need to get one rider injured, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
you've got 3 rider heats and stuff like that going on. Yes, I mean I'm drawing a blank. I mean, people have mentioned Richard Hall. I don't know whether his average fits. I guess it depends which average the BSBA choose on that one. And there's that vacuum and that speculation and those guesses and those rubbish right there.
Well, if Lakeside can bring Paul Hurry in, then I don't see why Birmingham shouldn't be able to bring Richard Hall in.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, about what's happening in the National League. I mean, I keep getting this thrown at my face that the National League is a development league. Taint, is it? Not anymore. It's we want to win.
It was
league.
supposed to be a development league,
Yeah.
but it's sort of...
With what's happening with Paul Hurry at Lakeside, and there's also Adam Roynan. That's been stuff happening in there, and there's also...
The Adam Roynan one shocked me as well, because Plymouth haven't been getting particularly good crowds, even in the National League, and he wouldn't have come cheap, Adam Roynan, so...
Well, it's
a bit of a strange one, that one.
It's that perception again, isn't it? I don't know. Yes.
I was just about to say, the updates are in.
Right, yes, I had noticed we've got some updates that we're following today. First of all, Sheffield versus Scunthorpe. The score currently, I've got to get some new teeth. The score currently is 26-16 to Sheffield. Jack Smith casting for JPB. Has got 2 paid seconds. And Josh Orty, I thought he'd stopped riding. What thought Josh
Orty had stopped riding, I thought.
Well, he scored 4 points for Scunthorpe.
That was a short retirement.
Yeah, okay, that was a very short retirement. We've also got Redcar versus Newcastle, and that's Redcar 22, Newcastle 14. Ulrich Ostergaard, 4 points. Ben Barker, 2 points. Liam Carr, 3 points. That's good, because he wasn't doing great when before in the... so he's guesting for Redcar, got 3 points. And he's got he's got 3 played for 5. 3 played 5. I've got really doing it to get some new teeth. And yeah, so that's looking to go the way of Redcar. And we've got Ipswich versus Berwick. There's a few matches going on tonight. I say we've got Ipswich versus Berwick.
Look, I'm multitasking. Hang on, so I'm on the
multi-watting.
wrong computer as well.
And Ipswich versus Berwick is Ipswich 21, Berwick 12. Ipswich is like a guest Birmingham team in a way. They got Danny King scored 3 points. Justin Sedgman scored 5 points from 2 rides. And Carl Newman has got 3 points, paid 5 from 2 rides. And yeah, that's looking to go the way of Ipswich, who are looking, for once, looking strong this year.
I'm backing it up as well.
Yeah. Can we just go back to that Ipswich versus Berwick one, please? Thank you. Yep, and I forgot what I was going to say, so you can go back to Swindon versus Kings Lynn.
Yeah, it's been awkward, hasn't it?
And that appears... No, that's wrong, so okay. we won't look
Wrong
at that.
link. I blame the person who gave me the links.
They can't have finished already, can they? It's 45-48 according to that.
That's May the 18th, that is.
Yeah, so, okay.
Have we gone back in time? So
Yeah, don't worry.
I'll get that up.
You can't get the help, can you? You can't get the help. So,
I'll have a look at it.
let's have a little chat then about something that I was thinking about last week. You've got this situation in the Championship and the Premiership where they've brought those leagues closer together, and I think they definitely have. I mean, that's been a success. They have done that.
Yep.
But then you look at people like Liam Carr struggling, Jack Parkinson Blackburn struggling in the Championship, and yet, you know, Jack Parkinson Blackburn's got 11-point average in the National League.
Almost too good for one league, but not quite good enough.
Yeah,
for the
has
other.
that gap increased between the bottom league and the middle tier? And is
Well,
that,
possibly the problem is that there's few riders in the National League that probably shouldn't be in it anymore because they're too good for it, but they aren't able to get the ratings elsewhere.
are you going to mention anybody as an example of that?
Well, I would say Steve Boxall for a start,
Mhm.
Adam Roynan. Max
Mhm.
Clegg, I think, he's obviously gone back into the National League now, but I think he's probably a bit too good for that league.
Yeah,
I would argue Liam Carr as well is too good for National League.
possibly. I'm not going to... Yeah, I mean, and this is where it's come down. All these riders now are getting signed up by what we could perhaps term the bigger clubs in the National League. Your
Mhm.
Lakesides, your Birminghams, your Eastbournes,
Cradleys.
Cradleys. And you had a situation where Grant Drury mentioned in the programme, his opinion appears to be that the third tier needs to be standalone clubs now.
Well, Kingsland, obviously, we've lost, which probably wasn't a massive surprise because they just weren't able to put together a
No,
competitive
well,
enough team.
they're built into a different criteria, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it.
And you sort of can't have that, can you?
Not really. No, you need to be competitive in this
Would
division now. So
Would it also be an encouragement for some newer clubs to come in and start in the National League? If, it's just standalone clubs.
I know Mick
and-
Horn's obviously talked about if Coventry can get back to Brandon, that they then
They'll
possibly
be doing National League,
doing
possibly.
National League.
Yeah, another big standalone club that would
Yeah.
then be. Yeah, I mean, I just, when Kingsland came, it wasn't an attractive fixture. Yeah.
Buxton not really, although they look
They're-
stronger than they did last season.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah, so it feels that they've sorted out the top two leagues, and then the league that was the most successful going back previous two seasons
yeah,
has been sort of knocked about a little bit by the changes.
hasn't adapted, I don't think, is it? So
No.
unfortunately,
I'm going to say something controversial now, and if this doesn't get anybody ringing in, I don't like the fact that there is no tactical element in National League matches. Not necessarily has to be double points, because I never did like that, but I just feel there should be some tactical element, and like I've mentioned before, it should only be available to the away side, with its stated aim being to combat home track advantage. Because you get to the point when you've done 5, 6, 7 heats, and you pretty much, for the most part, in most matches, you can there is no match anymore. It's obvious because you can see who's beaten who and who's doing well and who isn't, and you can just see. Whereas there's some sort of tactical element that throws a bit of a doubt to that, and also gives you something to talk about between heats as a fan.
yeah, that to me is the biggest problem with the National League. Not enough competitive matches.
So I think
And
there
I think
should be,
it's a bigger problem in the National League than it is in either of the other two divisions.
yeah, I think.
I
Well, I think
so-
that's true now
Yeah.
because of the very thing that we was
I
talking
mean, a
about.
few weeks ago, Somerset went to Bellevue and won in the top league. I mean, could you see Kings Lynn coming to Birmingham and winning in the National League? Not going to happen.
Well,
Buxton-
they don't exist, but
Buxton going to Birmingham winning?
that's
not
not
gonna
going to
happen.
happen.
Stoke coming to Birmingham and winning?
Not going to happen.
Exactly. I know Stoke won against Birmingham at home, but
But that was a close run
that was
thing.
a close run
Yeah,
thing, but
yeah.
not away from home. Not going to happen.
So let's talk about Birmingham's chances of making the playoffs now, because we lost at Stoke. I think that was points thrown away.
Yeah,
We've lost at Kent
yeah.
and never looked like getting any points.
Lost the 7 points that were gained against
Lost the 7 points that were
Kings
gained
Lynn.
against Kings Lynn. It's going to be. I think we're looking at the fourth spot, aren't we? Really, realistically, to try and go for.
Well, that's right. And the only concern, obviously, about going for the fourth spot is that then you really become the team that everybody wants to pick in the league.
You
So
become
you're
the
sort
whipping
of
boy,
fulfilling
don't you?
you're sort of fulfilling the last spot in the playoffs. Unless Birmingham can somehow strengthen the side in the next few weeks.
Well, I mean, you've got to look at the Darryl Richin thing as an opportunity, haven't you?
Yeah.
And, but but if it's only an opportunity, if there's a rider out there that can fulfil that spot, I mean, I don't know what the rules are. So maybe somebody could enlighten us. I had read that the way the rules are now is if we wanted to replace Daryl Richin and another, we have to replace each one as one for one. So you can't combine their averages and combine it into a different combination, which, because I'm just thinking with Carl Roberts out, you could possibly have somebody to replace Daryl Richins with a lower average and somebody to replace Carl Roberts with a higher average and do it that way.
Why can't you just replace two riders with two other riders? It's quite simple, isn't it? So,
well, it would be simple, wouldn't it? But anyway, yeah, I'm not sure whether I've got that right. So please let us know if somebody's out there.
If you're listening, Mr. Chapman, let us know.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, this is that vacuum again, isn't it? We was talking about speculation and perception. It needs to be sorted out. Have we got any talkies?
Sorry?
Got anybody?
No, it's very quiet.
Yeah, last week was brilliant, but
yeah, we couldn't shut them up last week.
Well, I think Matt's here, and it's.
Oh no, yeah, never mind.
I think they're just
his
starstruck,
knowledge
aren't
and
they?
wisdom.
Yeah, starstruck.
Is just intimidating everybody.
Yeah, it scares me.
That's what's happening.
Okay,
well, we'll go back to the scores on the doors.
Okay, I'll just refresh that, and we'll have a look.
And then we'll have a look at some of the other
Swindon
things.
Rye House, by the way, is the matching tonight.
Swindon
not
Rye
Swindon,
House,
Kingsley.
Okay, our friend over
I'll
there.
get that up in a bit.
We'll get that up, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, 29. That's looking a good match, that is, isn't it? 29-21. Sheffield.
It's a bit of a derby as well, isn't it? So there's not a massive distance between the two. So.
And Redcar Newcastle. The score currently is. We may never know. It was 22-14 before.
And if it does load.
And no, okay, that doesn't want. It's all going wrong. It's all going terribly wrong. Ipswich versus Berwick. The score is 26-13 to Ipswich. Danny King on a maximum. He's too good for that league.
Far too good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And it's 30-18 Redcar Newcastle. So yeah, it's just the one match that's quite tight, really. Right, if you can go to the links page for me. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at the British final, and we'll talk about the British final, which is, of course, the first match on BT on Monday.
First domestic meeting,
Yeah.
obviously, because the Grand Prix have been on, but...
It'd be interesting. Well, it's the first one that they will have had to have done, because obviously they get the feed from the Speedway Grand Prix, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. The draw is as follows: Carl Wilkinson, Danny King, Ben Barker, Jason Garrity, Lewis Rose, Kyle Howarth, Lewis Kerr, Chris Harris, Steve Worrell, Richard Lawson, Paul Stark, Stuart Robson, Richie Worrell, Craig Cook, Scott Nichols and Rory Schlein. That brings a smile to my face.
Well, Ivan Major and Barry Briggs have both won British finals, haven't they, in the past?
Well, they have.
So, and they're from New Zealand, so
Yeah.
it's not unheard of.
Well, they've also ridden for GB as well.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, interesting. So, yes, pick a winner, mate. What do you think?
I don't think Danny King will win it.
Okay.
I don't think his form's good enough at the moment. Craig Cook, I think he's obviously going to have the home support behind him, and he's having a good season. Obviously, Scott Nichols is the most successful rider in the field in the British title, but I don't think the Bellevue track is a track that he relishes. I mean, obviously, he did. It's fair to say he didn't do as well as he would have liked there when he was riding for Bellevue last season. You can't rule Rory Schlein out, to be fair. I mean, he's riding superbly at the moment for us and for Ipswich as well. Bomber's obviously starting to get his form together a little bit.
Just lost out on the Speedway GP qualifier. So.
That's right, yeah.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It's a tough one to call this year, isn't it? So,
well, do you know what? I think you're right. I think Rory Schlein. I think it's his sort of track as well, Bellevue.
yeah,
isn't it?
he's got as good a chance as anybody. So,
but of course, I mean, I know you've written Danny King off, but he does like that track.
he does like the track here.
He does
So,
like
I mean,
that track.
if he can raise his game, he raised his game in last season's
He
British
did,
final.
didn't he?
So, to say that, I mean, he wasn't. I don't think anybody was I think somebody in this room tipped him to winning the British final last season.
Yes.
Didn't he? Yeah, clever bloke and all. Clever
Do we
bloke.
need to remind him about that?
Yeah.
For goodness sake.
I might go for
I've
him
already
again,
taken
actually.
his camera off him, you know. Yeah, I mean, almost as important, I'm thinking, is what sort of impression BT make.
Well, they're going to love the stadium, obviously.
Mm.
I mean, I think they'll be a bit of they might be a bit surprised when they got to some of the other stadiums after seeing that one. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the coverage is like, because obviously Sky in the last few years was just Nigel Pearson and Kelvin Tatum in the studio introducing the show and doing all the commentary as well.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed that BT haven't taken Chris Louis on, because I thought he did a lot of very, very good analysis for Sky, and it would have been nice to have seen him carry on doing that.
Are we having any analysis?
I'm assuming it's going to be Nigel Pearson and Kelvin Tatum along with the commentary. I haven't seen any others been.
Because you would presume they'd want to have interviews in the pits, although there's a lot of dead time to fill, isn't there? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out, and whether it actually introduces Speedway to another audience because it's moved from one form, from one station to another. Yeah, I think it's important, as I say. We've also got, moving on to another subject now, we've also got...
Just before we move on to another subject, Jeremy Corpland says he's currently keeping an eye on Scunthorpe Scorpions at Sheffield tonight, and it's not going too well at the moment.
Sheffield...
I'm guessing he's Scunthorpe.
He's a Scunthorpe fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not. Well, do you know what? Sheffield are a strong team.
They do know Coach Scunthorpe.
It's actually not a bad showing at all. You might get a point out of this yet. So, Michael Palm-Toft's been a bit of a disappointment for them, but he's just scored the 1 point from 2 rides. But he's a decent enough rider, so you might find he'll pull that around. Who knows? So we can go back to the links. We'll have a look at the British Under-19 final lineup, which is coming soon. I think this is interesting, actually, because it's shown what we've got an interesting crop of riders coming through. So we'll just go through that. Henry Atkins, Dan Bewley, Kyle Bickley, Tom Brennan, Kelsey Dugard, Nathan Greaves, Jamie Holder, Luke Harris, Jordan Jenkins, Joe Lawler, Jack Parkinson Blackburn, Luke Roddick, Jack Smith, Jack Thomas, Zach Vitanek, Callum Walker. Pick a winner out of that.
Plymouth, isn't it? That's been staged on, I think.
I think you're right. Doesn't tell me on this, but I think you're right. I think it is Plymouth, which might make it difficult for Zach Vitanek because he doesn't necessarily ride the smaller tracks that well.
I don't know what the track's like. I know it's a small track at Plymouth, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Dan Bewley's obviously going to fancy his chances of doing well.
I would say so. I think you're looking at Dan Bewley, Zach Vitanek maybe.
Zach again on small tracks?
Well, yeah, but he's on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
So
and you can't get a small track than Lakeside, to be honest. But
that's true. Jack Parkinson Blackburn might be a top 3 pick.
I don't know whether he'll win.
He's not ridden.
Has he ridden there?
I don't know whether he's ridden there. He's not ridden for a while, has he? Because of this ban.
Yeah.
It is St Boniface Arena. That is Plymouth. So yeah. Well, I'm gonna say Dan Bewley.
Yeah, I'm going to say Dan Bewley as well.
The kid's been on fire this year, hasn't he?
He's had a good season. Yeah. Good rider.
Yeah. So, but what you look at some of those names like your Zach Vitaneks, like your Dan Bewley, your Jack Parkinson Blackburns, your Jack Smiths. It's a good crop of youngsters coming up. I mean, that look good on a bike. They look fast.
So a lot more optimistic about that now than you were 3 or 4 seasons ago.
Absolutely.
So I think that's probably one of the good things about the fast track system. That a lot of people didn't like it, but I think it has brought riders
on.
Up,
yeah, it has brought riders on. So, okay, the BSPA have got something right after my diatribe. There we go. Shall we have another look at the scores on the doors? 34-22 Sheffield to Scunthorpe. It's not going quite as well for Scunthorpe now. Red car Newcastle. And the score is
that might be the score actually.
33-21 to Red car. And Ipswich versus Berwick. The score is 32-19 to Ipswich. Bit of a pasting there for Berwick, unfortunately. They've already used a tactical sub. And still 32-19 behind. And they got 6 points for that tactical sub.
37-25 at Swindon, by the way, in that match with
Kings Lynn.
with
Rye House 37-25.
25.
That's quite a decent match as well.
Zach Varnick's had 4 points from his 3 rides, winning heat number 2, and third and the last in his other 2 rides.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about Ty Woffington, who's moved to a new house and then had it broken into. Yeah, not while he was riding in at the GP, as far as I can gather. Double world champion Ty Woffington thanked the fans who have rallied around him and wife Faye after they were burgled at the weekend. The burglary took place at their new home when Woffington was racing in the Mitas Czech FIM Speedway Grand Prix in Prague on Saturday. Faye was at her parents' home watching on TV. Well, so thank God that she wasn't in the.
Well, that's true. Yes,
I think Woffington estimates £20,000 worth of personal belongings were taken, and it could have been worse. Personally, I think they were disturbed when Faye got home from the information I have, he said. It's naturally a horrible time, particularly for Faye when I'm away racing. I was so angry when I was told about it. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it now, but I would urge everyone to look at their home security, as we will. Our thanks to all the fans who have sent messages of support through social media. Once again, they have proved how special they are. So that's a nice thing, nice way to finish it. Yeah, and he had a tough time at the. He touched the tapes.
that's right. 5 points I think he got. So difficult night for Ty.
Well,
he's not really ridden a lot of meetings, in fairness. So maybe that's taking its toll a little bit. So.
I think he's just going to look at this now as a regeneration season.
I don't think there's going to be a return to Wolves this season, because I don't think his average is going to fit, to be honest. But
well, you don't need him, do you? That's
not at the moment.
So yeah, right. If we can have a look at the Championship table, the Premiership table, and the League table, National League table, please.
So we've got the Championship first.
While we're getting that up, we should. Mention there's been quite a bit of scuttlebutt about one Mr. Lane Coopit.
Is that a real word?
Well, it is now. It wasn't before. I've just made it. There you
go.
Yeah. My understanding is that. Now, I wasn't there. I didn't see it, so I have no idea whether any of this is true or whether it wasn't true. So I need to say that. The accusation has been that he came off at the back, looked up, saw Mitchell. I think it was no, it wasn't Heat 15. That was another one. Saw Mitchell Davey.
I think it was Heat 11
in second. Right, yeah, that would be right. Saw Mitchell Davey in second place, not winning, and so stayed down. He then got lots of catcalls and boos off the Kent fans, which is sort of normal fare for that sort of incident, but reacted to it quite badly, jumping over the fence and confronting some of the... Now, as I say, I wasn't there, I haven't seen this, and there might be more to it than what I'm saying. But I'm going to approach this from a different tack. Which most of the people that have seen this.
Well, you've upset the BSBA tonight.
Well,
so,
most of the people that have seen this have had bad things to say about Lane Coopit. First of all, the kid's only 16.
Yeah.
Give him a break. That's number one. There's also been accusations that Graham Drury was in the pits geeing them up, and that's why they was a bit more hyper. Has anybody ever seen Grand Drury geeing riders up in the pits? Because I've never seen that. That's not the way he operates. That's not his sort of management style. So I think that was just this supposition, as we was talking about before. I remember back in the good old days, there were lots and lots of characters within Speedway and did lots and lots of naughty things.
Yeah.
And we had lots and lots of fans. I'm not saying that there's
Doing
a
naughty
direct.
things.
God, you are going back a
Speak
bit.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that there's a direct link between the two, but people are bemoaning the fact that there is not the same characters as there used to be in the sport. But when a character comes along, he gets riled, and like that has with Lee Cupid. I think he's probably a character.
Lane Cupid even.
And him as well.
Yeah.
Ty Woffington's a character. He's had to put up with things about that, So I guess the big difference is that back in those days you didn't have social media. That's the big difference. Yeah. But back in those days, you had a rider who shall remain nameless, mainly because I can't remember his name. That had an altercation on the track and went back, pulled a gun out of his kit, and came out onto the centre green with a.
I think it might have been, was it Gary Middleton?
Gary Middleton, that was it. Gary Middleton.
That was a Crowley, I think, wasn't it? I think.
That's 70s, was it?
Yeah, it's got 70s, early 80s, isn't it? So I don't know. I think riling the crowd up is part of the rider's remit, to be honest. Sorry, that's it. Right.
But isn't that
a bit too sanitised, I think, now, isn't it?
That's the word. And it's.
Well, the do-gooder brigade, I think.
And I don't think Speedway is the only sport that's guilty of that. I think most sports are going for this. We'll train our players, our riders, our whatever, to be really professional in front of a camera and not say the right things and not say the wrong things. I mean, and it's all a bit sick as a parrot, isn't it?
Nobody got hurt, did they? So it's.
Well, that's a good point. Nobody got hurt. And as far as the thing with him stopping on the floor, it's one of those things, isn't it? As a supporter, well, as supporters, generally we don't support that sort of behaviour. However, if he's doing it for your team, you might turn a blind eye, and that's because you're grateful for the second bite of the cherry. And another point to that, the National League is becoming less of a development league, by the way, because those sorts of things are creeping into the National League, where perhaps once 2 years ago,
too big a gulf now, isn't there? Really, between the top sides and the bottom sides, as I said earlier. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, so I think, unless anybody's got any other business, I've run out of things to talk about. Hello.
Ian says Kent fans have formed for goading riders. He's seen it himself numerous times.
Yeah, I think I've heard. Was it Jack Smith that had a go at last year?
Yeah.
Similar result, from what I remember. It's been interesting. There's been nothing on the Brummy website about it, because last year when that happened, he did mention, and Jack Smith gave an apology, and he said, "Look, the lad's only young, etc., etc." But it's handbags at dawn, isn't it? It's nothing. Get over it. That's what I say.
Get over it.
Get over it. Right, we'll have a look at the championship then, since our good friend the Invisible Man has got the championship up. Top 4 is Edinburgh, Glasgow, Ipswich and Sheffield, with Workington on the same number of points as Sheffield, and Redcar on the same number of points as Sheffield as well. That's a close.
Surprised to see Berwick adrift at the bottom. I thought Berwick. I certainly started the version. I thought Berwick had a decent side.
Yeah,
but,
they're not doing very well tonight, are they?
Yeah. Newcastle were my tip, but I mean they're not out of it obviously, because they're still in contention for a playoff.
Yeah, they're
spot,
nearly out of it, but yeah.
Well, not for the playoffs, obviously. But
I'm looking at that, and I think Glasgow's probably your favourite there at the moment to finish on top.
Yeah, Edinburgh obviously top of the moment, but they've had more matches than.
And can we have a look at the other league? That's name I forgot. Premiership. I can't get used to these new names.
Yeah, it's a difficult word to remember, isn't it? Really.
The Premiership. Oh, let's not even bother look at that.
Could have told you before. So it's
Wolverhampton, Poole, Bellevue, and Kings Lynn bring up the top four. With Wolverhampton on 29 points and Kings Lynn on 18. Do you think this is looking like Wolverhampton, Poole? Well, I see Poole and Bellevue are just neck and neck there, aren't they?
I don't think Kings Lynn will be in the top four.
No. Well, you know,
Swindon.
They're in the top four at the moment with the least number of matches.
Yeah. Swindon. I mean,
you
you look at Swindon's home form. They haven't won a home match yet, but they've had some great results on the road. So if they can get the home form together, then they could be there or thereabouts. And they were quite impressive at Monmore the other week. I mean, they certainly deserve the point they got.
right. And poor old Leicester at the bottom again.
Yeah. Rye House.
It's been a success. It's been a success for Rye House, hasn't it?
It has. They've had some great crowds as well, and I really enjoyed it when I went there, even though we lost.
Yeah,
it was a really good night out at Rye House. And looking forward to hopefully going there again. At some
do you think
point.
they could make the playoffs in their first season? It'd be nice to see, wouldn't it?
I think they could make the playoffs. Yeah.
So, can we just go back? Oh, you haven't kept it up. Oh, you should. Can we go back? So you got Leicester at the bottom, and you possibly got Glasgow at the top. Glasgow, Leicester in a relegation final. Who are you going to see?
That would be close, I think. I think Ipswich Leicester would be close as well in a playoff final.
The other thing I could say about, which I hadn't considered before, the relegation thing and promotion, is it makes coming first. Or is it whoever wins the playoffs, or is it who comes first?
First.
So it makes winning it something then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
It's like a proper playoff.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure many of the Premiership promoters would be too keen on on either of the Scottish clubs.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
The local derby would be Bellevue, wouldn't it? So.
Yeah.
So it's a bit.
Well, deal with it.
Glasgow Pool would be a nice little haunt, wouldn't it? So.
Wow. Okay, and the National League. Top five are Bellevue, Eastbourne, Mildenhall have done well this year.
They have done well.
And Lakeside, with Birmingham in 5th place.
Still above Cradler.
Well, thank God for small mercies, eh? Well, two questions really. Are Cradler going to make the playoffs?
No. I don't think they will.
Because out of that top four, your Bellevue, Eastbourne, Mildenhall, Lakeside, it's Mildenhall that you really need to be targeting, I'm thinking.
I think so, yeah.
And it's whether going to Mildenhall and beating them.
I think Lakeside obviously starting to get into the stride now, aren't they? So,
yeah.
So I think they're going.
They've just strengthened incredibly, haven't they? I mean,
yeah.
I think that they could win the thing, to be honest.
Really, really good development that is, isn't it? Bringing a 43-year-old in to the National League. But,
well, it's a development league, isn't it?
So. But I think Bellevue, Eastbourne and Lakeside for me are certs for the playoffs. So really for the Brummies, it's a case of, targeting Mildenhall.
Yeah. Right, well, let's have a look at...
Have they been? They've not been to Birmingham yet, have they, Mildenhall? This season?
They've been to Birmingham yet, but not this season. Shall we have a look at who's Wolverhampton got coming up? Who are you meeting?
Well, obviously no meeting on Monday because of the British final.
The British final, yeah.
And then obviously the next meeting is the second leg of the cup match against Kings Lynn, which is a bit of a non-event. We won the first leg by 18,
right.
But
okay.
So
and our friend Chris is going to look on the Brummies website now, and because I can't remember who we've got next week. Is it
Lakeside?
It's Lakeside.
Lakeside, yeah.
Whoa! So we are going to meet what I reckon is the strongest team.
I would say as well. League. I mean, I wasn't here last week. That meeting against Eastbourne was the best meeting I've seen at Birmingham for a long time.
It was a cracking meeting, wasn't it?
Considering the conditions, it was a really, really enjoyable meeting. How on earth Eastbourne didn't win that, I'll never ever know.
How we got that point, I'll never know.
Yeah. There was a lot of Eastbourne.
Although we could see, we was watching that match and we could see Heat 13 and 15. were I mean, you never know, but it was highly probable that we was going to, because we got the 2 best riders on the night by a long way. So those were, you were going to get 8 points on that in those 2 heats.
Yeah.
But that 5-1 in heat 11, I think it was, that they got, killed the match off.
Well,
we thought, but then we got that 4-2 in heat 14 with Macaulay Leak, who's really impressing me. By the way.
I mean, Eastbourne are so reliable as well. Normally matches against Birmingham, aren't they? So,
so have we got the? He didn't do it, did he?
Sorry, a bit away. What?
I did. Yeah, can you get what's Birmingham's next match? So you
I thought you said it. I thought you got it.
No. Oh no, we did work it out, didn't we?
Lakeside,
yeah, I do beg your pardon. Yeah. So that's going to. Yeah, we've no idea what our team's going to be. So how can I make a prediction? It's going to be a tough old match, that is. There.
The return of Zach Voitnick, he's I'm sure going to have a point to prove.
Yeah.
So.
Return of Paul Horry.
Yeah. Ex-Bromley for, was it 100 yards?
100 yards, yeah, he managed 100 yards. Okay, so we're going to wrap up in a moment, but just before we do,
we've got the GP finally very quickly as well. Obviously, we had the Czech Grand Prix on Saturday, so.
Yeah, okay.
So.
We'll do the scores on the doors.
So first, yep.
Is that up to date?
Yeah.
37-25. Sheffield, Scunthorpe. Scunthorpe have fallen away a little bit there. Redcar versus Newcastle is 38-20. No, it isn't, because it is. Yes, it's 38-22. There you go. And Ipswich Berwick is 35-22 to Ipswich, and the Swindon Kings Lynn match.
We'll just have a look. Swindon were fairly comfortable when we last looked, so we'll just talk amongst yourselves for a bit. So.
What again?
Yeah, I know.
Well.
Swindon were winning it comfortably. Swindon, of course, not yet won a home meeting, so they'll be hoping to end that run.
That doesn't help crowds, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's 41-33 to the Robins. That's after heat number 12.
So yeah, another heat advantage, and they've won that, haven't they? Yes, Grand Prix this weekend.
Yep. Last weekend, obviously, Checo.
Czech one, which we have mentioned a little bit. Jason Doyle, all of a sudden, right in the mix.
Clear at the
second place, isn't it? Patrick Dudek,
but only a point behind Patrick Dudek. I haven't seen the whole of the Czech Grand Prix, but it was a pretty good meeting. I mean, Prague's not usually a particularly good racetrack, but it did provide some good racing. But it's tight at the top. Dudek 51, Doyle's on 50. Martin Vashlik, everyone seems to have forgotten about him, on 44. Freddie Lindgren 43. Obviously, Freddie's had his injury problems, so but he's still, only 8 points off the top. And obviously, Greg Hancock down there, 7th on 38, was better in the last Grand Prix. And obviously, Ty struggling at the moment on 37. Not out of it, but sort of in the middle at the moment.
I think everybody in the Speedway world is hoping for Jason Doyle, aren't they? After last season,
it would be poetry. Just I think if Jason Doyle won a.
But you don't see anybody running away with this, do you?
I don't see anybody running away with it. No,
which means that injuries are going to play their part again in deciding who wins this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already affected Freddie Lindgren, as we mentioned. So, yeah. Next week is at next GP rather. Is
where is it? I can't remember where it is now. I should know. They shouldn't have really.
You should do. You're the GP man.
Were the researchers having a day off or something for the show?
Did someone speak?
Do we have researchers?
It was Denmark. Denmark's the next one. So.
Of course.
Because could Nicky Pedersen,
if he's fit?
Well, yes.
If he's fit, of course. He's had his problems, hasn't he, Nicky? So it's sort of looks like a bit of a. Bowing out at the top of the sport with a bit of a whimper, unfortunately for Nicky. So,
I was talking about characters again, and he was certainly somebody that character was a character.
Well, love him or hate him, the GP would be a lot duller when he's not around.
Yeah, unless Lane Cupid gets in, apparently. But anyway, okay. Well, we will see you next week when hopefully Birmingham has beaten Lakeside.
Yep.
Take care, everybody. See you soon. Thank you for joining us on the Speedway Tavern. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
PK in the rider in blue there off the inside, just moved a little bit, and he probably unsettled Everson, but he certainly got away with that. An absolute fire, it was great.
You think he should have been called back, Kelv?
Well, he clearly moved, so there's no doubt that and he did gain an advantage, so Everson gets away with a bit of a roller there.
Great start for you. Thank you, Nils. Good luck.
Well, we're up to heat number 2 now, 3 all in the opening race, and I think Niels Christian Everson was fairly honest there, wasn't he, about the opening race. He probably did get away with a flyer. Clegg on the inside in red, Perry in gate 2 in white, and Carl Howarth comes out of gate 3 in blue, and onto the outside Nathan Greaves. Both the 2 riders here for the Kings in Stars are replacements, Chris, and Rob Lyon and Dale Allett will be keen to see how they go. Vital points on the line for the reserve riders. Green lights on, again a little bit of movement. Charging towards the first corner there, and the rider in blue helmet there with Carl Howard. Terrific start from him, Amphit. Red lights are on though.
Obviously saw something a little bit different to the first one, Kelvin.
He did indeed. Graham Flint, the referee, this time putting the red light on. We'll keep an eye for the movement in gate 3 there. Looked like Carl Howarth may have been a little bit eager to get underway. Yeah, it can be difficult at times. He was a winter signing, of course, for the Wolverhampton team, and he has been playing his part. I sense that he would have wanted a little bit more. A little bit of a hold up here for... Right, he's been penalised now. Was he... I'm sure that he touched the tapes, but I wasn't aware of that. So quite clearly there was an infringement on the start line. So now the rider in red, Nathan Greaves, going off the 15-metre handicap, and away we go. Second time of asking, and Carl Howarth once again charges away from the tape. Max Clegg joining him there on the inside in second place. Tom Perry in third, and Nathan Greaves out the back. This looks like it could be a relatively comfortable 5-1 for the home team. Howarth with that hunched over style as he comes charging into the first corner for the second time of asking. Chris, home team are dominating heat number 2.
Yeah, they are. They're looking comfortable. There's plenty of grip down on the track. When you've got 2 meetings like this, the track staff have put in a very special effort to make sure that they can maintain some sort of dirt on the track throughout the 30 heats of racing tonight. So far, they seem to have done that. They have got a little bit more dirt down. They've got plenty of moisture in the surface, and the racing so far is very, very quick.
It is indeed. Howarth out in front, really winding on, a little bit out of shape as he goes through the last lap, but Max Clegg does look very tidy indeed in second place. Dominating heat for heat number 2 for the home team. Big 5-1 for them. The home team, we've got Troy Batchelor going off the inside in yellow. We've got Chris Harris coming out of gate 2 in blue. Gate 3, Robert Lambert, teenage sensation from Kings Lynn, coming out of gate 3. And his World Cup teammate, Ty Woffernan, goes off the outside in red. Hearing that Niels Christian Everson broke the track record in heat number 1, and we did say when we had a sneaky look at the track, it could be a track record night.
Yeah, we had a little look at the surface, and certainly, pretty much both agreed that the track would be quick, and it could be a track record so far in heat 1.
So it proved to be. Yeah, absolutely. So heat number 3, away we go.
More movement.
More movement again. It's Troy Batchelor gets there, but Woffernan, the champion, roars round the outside. Batchelor's into second place as they go down the back straight for the first time. Lambert's in third. Harris is out the back. Woffernan making it really look quite comfortable out in front. He took a couple of races to settle in his first meeting back, but he looks super smooth out in front. Batchelor makes a mistake, Chris, and that allows Harris through.
Yeah, you don't need to leave too much room for Chris Harris to make a move on this track. He absolutely loves racing around here. Now he's giving chase to Robert Lambert, but Robert's looking reasonably comfortable, but not quite as comfortable as Ty Woffernan out front, looking super quick, and certainly taking no time at all to get back into British racing conditions.
Yeah, the world champion out in front, riding a super ride here. Looks silky smooth, putting on a masterclass for us in his opening ride. Robert Lambert hanging on in second place, and Harris a little bit out of shape on the last corner, but Jussie hanging on for third place, with Troy Batchelor once again out of form at the back. He has had a really difficult season, opening ride, celebrating on one wheel down the start and finish straight, and rightly the home crowd on their feet for that, with a little bit of good fortune, but he got away with it.